We need help for renters, who more and more of whom will be evicted out of their homes. We need help for small business, and we also need help for our restaurants and our independent venues, all of which are in the HEROES bill, which passed the House. Speaker Pelosi and I, in an effort to compromise, took $1 trillion off that HEROES bill and said we're willing to compromise. But Leader McConnell has not done that. He said he has 20 members of his caucus who want no money, despite the greatest economic crisis since the Depression, the greatest health care crisis since the Spanish pandemic flu. 20 in his caucus want no money. Leader McConnell should say, the heck with you. You're out of touch with America's great needs, particularly as COVID is increasing. We need money for the MTA. We were able to get $4 billion for them in the last bill. I worked very hard on that, but now we need more. So instead, here, give me the chart again, because Angelo is very good at this. Instead of sending out this tweet, President Trump would have more success. Give me my phone. Well, that's not my phone. I use my phone. Well, where are you, Mike? Here. Everyone knows my phone, or many people do. Instead of doing this tweet, President Trump, pick up this phone and call Leader McConnell and say, let's sit down and get a bill done ASAP. Okay? That is the bottom line, folks. We need all these things. The Republicans should start spending all their time saying the election wasn't legitimate. We know it's legitimate. Republicans, Joe Biden won, Donald Trump lost. Now work with us to get a COVID bill done, because that's the agenda that's the item that's on the agenda that the American people want, and want badly. It's time to move on. The election's over. There wasn't fraud. There wasn't anything else. 6 states, swing states, flipped from Trump to Biden. Those 6 states, in each of them, the margin is not even close. No court is going to overturn this election. Joe Biden will be installed as president. So Republicans, get over it. Stop spending all your time spreading lies about the election, and instead roll up your sleeves, sit down with us, do a COVID bill that New York and America needs. No more temper tantrums, no more stomping your feet. Get something done to help New York and get us relief from COVID. Thank you. Senator Gillibrand, my great partner, great advocate for New York in the United States Senate.
Well, thank you, Senator Schumer, for your leadership and your vision and your dedication and determination to actually get package relief for New York and for our whole country. Unfortunately, President Trump and his administration and the Republicans in the Senate have not shown any kind of leadership during this COVID epidemic. More than 10 million people have contracted COVID. New numbers of cases are spiking all across New York, all across the entire country. Here in New York City, we are seeing the highest rates that we've seen since June. Families are struggling. More than 45 million people have filed for unemployment during the pandemic, and countless more aren't sure if they'll be able to pay rent or put food on the table or provide for their children. Yet, Mitch McConnell continues to refuse to act. Chuck is exactly right. President Trump should be tweeting at Mitch, not us, because he's the one who's refused to act. Mitch McConnell has had a bill from Speaker Pelosi since May. He's refused to put it on the floor. He's refused to debate it. He's refused to even talk about it. He also doesn't support the kind of policies that we desperately need. He is so fixated on liability protection, he's unwilling to send the aid that is needed to the cities and states around this country that are without the resources to make sure our frontline workers can keep being on the front line. Meanwhile, President-elect Biden, Democrats in the Senate, and people across America know exactly what relief is needed and has been arguing for that for months. Providing real relief means a coordinated, robust health care response We'd like to have a health force to do the contact tracing, to do the testing, and eventually to bring and give the vaccines to all who want it. It's especially critical for the next few months. It also means giving our states and our local governments the aid they need to keep their operations open. Our public servants have been going above and beyond, meeting all the needs, but they can't do it without resources. As New Yorkers and other cities implement new safety restrictions and outdoor dining becomes less feasible in winter weather, helping our small businesses, restaurants, and theaters will be vital to our survival and the city's survival. Additionally, Congress has to provide more relief directly to families. That includes having a real national paid leave policy, because we are still the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't have access to paid leave. We also need to make sure that we have affordable daycare. Parents are scrambling. Daycare centers have shut. Before the pandemic, there was one slot for every 4 children that were needed. Now, there's one slot for every 8 children that need it. We also have to make sure the economic assistance programs that we established at the beginning of the pandemic that expired over the summer are renewed. We need to make sure that people get their unemployment insurance, and they need to get the extra supplemental insurance. It's critical that the next relief package has both direct cash payments and enhanced unemployment assistance so people can stay afloat during this crisis. And we have to go beyond that. Every month someone goes without work is another month they struggle to make their rent or put food on the table. Rental assistance is necessary to stave off the wave of evictions that we expect to happen. So we have to make sure partial federal eviction moratorium is scheduled well into the future, not just to the end of the year. That will be necessary to keep our families protected and safe. And last but not least, I have visited food banks all across this state, and I can tell you the lines go around the block, whether you're in the Bronx or whether you're in Brooklyn or whether you're in Queens, Manhattan, or in Staten Island. So it is necessary that we make sure food relief is part of this next package. In upstate New York, the car lines go on for miles. So people are struggling. So we need to expand the SNAP benefits and the pandemic EBT. As we confront the reality of this ever-growing challenge of COVID, we need to get back to the negotiation table, start where the HEROES Act left off, and put our families and not politics first.
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. Now, one other thing I forgot to mention, I am wearing this FEMA jacket. I got it during Sandy. Sandy was an example of a national crisis, and certainly a New York crisis, where both parties pulled together and got something done. And now many of the areas, almost just about all the areas that were so hard hit by Sandy, are in full recovery. The same thing can happen as long as, again, I like this very much. Yep, here. As long as instead of we need Donald Trump to tell McConnell, not Congress, what is needed. That's what we need. Mitch McConnell to put the bill, as Kirsten Gillibrand said, Mitch McConnell to put the bill on the floor, and I believe it will pass. And it will have not everything we want, but the relief we need. Questions on this subject? This subject. I have spoken to the President-elect with Speaker Pelosi last week, and he believes we need a strong COVID response as we do.
And what do you urge Senator McConnell to do?
Well, I urge Senator McConnell to, best of all, put the bill that passed the House, the $2.2 trillion compromise bill, on the floor of the Senate. And if that can't pass because it doesn't have enough Republican votes, I think it will, to sit down and come together with Democrats on a fair compromise that meets the needs of New York and of the American people. Well, we hope he will.
Senator, the majority leader has said he wants a specifically targeted bill. So the question is, would Democrats...
The bill is specifically targeted, but he leaves out there's no aid for state and localities. There's no aid for food banks. There's no aid for renters. There's no aid for the MTA. We want it specific. He has virtually no specifics.
Would Democrats look at this as an all-or-nothing proposal, or would you want to do something sooner
Well, certainly we are willing to sit down and talk with Leader McConnell in terms of a bill that meets the needs. But we came down $1 trillion already. But we're certainly willing to sit down and talk with him. So far, he said it's his bill, which does virtually nothing or nothing at all.
And also,
Go ahead.
Mitch McConnell has not even tried to negotiate in good faith. In fact, he has put poison pills in every bill that he's put forward. We don't believe that you should have blanket liability protection for all employers, no matter how they act. We saw what bad employers do. In meatpacking facilities across this country, they packed workers shoulder to shoulder with no face masks, no personal protective equipment, and COVID spread in those meatpacking facilities like wildfire. Having universal liability protection is a poison pill intended to stop negotiations.
And
so he needs to negotiate in good faith.
The other thing